The tale of the tape then between these two outstanding middleweights, Costello van Steenis taking on Douglas Lima. And John, you picked out those records, understandably.
And that's because Douglas Lima has been a three-time world champion, a guy with all that experience, but he's been on a losing streak. He needs to get it back. Can he take on the young stallion in Costello van Steenis and get back on that win track? We're gonna find out.
Well, Douglas Lima says it's not how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. He's fallen plenty of late. Can he drag himself to what would be a huge win for him? But Van Steenis has his eyes on the legend here.
You can see Van Steenis is ready for that low kick that Douglas Lima is so good with. That foot is bouncing off of that canvas, waiting. That comes from his mentor in Gegard Mousasi, who fought Douglas Lima and had to be carried out of the cage just like you saw Rory McDonald. That low calf kick only takes a couple before it starts eating your leg up.
Well, there's clearly a plan, and he landed the first calf kick. When you asked Van Steenis about that, he very quickly said, we've got it, we're aware of it. How could you not be?
And one of the things that we talked with Douglas Lima is about, that the start. He sometimes tends to let the start just get away from him. He waits so long to, get his feel and everything. He's got to start a little bit faster. We're going to see if that can happen here. Nice job of using the wizard to keep himself up. Van Steenis was deep on that takedown. You saw Lima go to the wizard, able to get himself back to his feet. That's real important right now for Doug Lima.
Steenis trying this more thoughtful approach. He said himself, he described it as fighting like a child in the past. He says, I'm not going to achieve greatness if I carry on doing that. Sometimes needs to take a breath and make better decisions. He's made some good ones here so far, and he looks for that spinning back fist.
Nice thought process by Van Steenis, though. Did not connect, but there was a good thought in the position because Lima doesn't have a lot of room to move.
Spearing jab there from Van Steenis. There's another of those low kicks. He's trying to dominate in that area.
Well, and actually right now he's getting close. He's leading the dance in that.
Reached with that right hand, Van Steenis. Out with that injury, and he believes that everything has changed for him. He's been working with Football Club Feyenoord in Rotterdam and changed everything, night masks, all sorts in his approach, because it's made him so much stronger and better.
See, and what you're seeing right now from Van Steenis is what Josh talks about and I talk about as far as liking. Everything he does with bad intentions. He wants to hurt you. If I throw a jab, I want it to hurt. If I throw a kick, I want it to hurt, no matter where it goes. And that's what you see when you watch Costello fight. He just has an intensity about him.
Up against an opponent here. For the 22nd time in the Bellator cage, Douglas Lima. Never underestimate the value of that experience. For all the attributes of Van Steenis, Lima still exceptional. Doubling up that jab, Lima, just finding his range for the first time.
Now, when Doug Lima is going forward, he's doing well, but he's got to maintain that forward movement. If he's getting back towards the cage, he's not feeling it, he's not doing well in the fight.
Starting to find his range with those calf kicks
yes,
here, Lima,
is.
isn't he? And that is ominous for Van Steenis.
You know, even Michael Venom Page talked about it. You know, he says, he goes, look, people don't realize how hard he kicks. He goes, you can only take a couple. He goes, I figured out before the fight, if I can just get, one or less, per fight, per round, I'm doing great. Nice job again by Douglas Lima to get himself back up off of that canvas. Uses the cage to get himself back up.
Closing 10 seconds of this opening round. Yet to truly catch fire, but it's been fascinating so far. You're watching Costello van Steenis, who effectively wants what Douglas Lima has had. Absolutely. Put quite simply. And John, you gave the first round to Costello van Steenis.
Yeah, I did. You take a look, I thought he landed the better shots. Douglas just didn't get off as much. He waited a lot more. You saw Van Steenis landing a lot more with the kicks to the body and everything, so that's what gave him the round. And it's always hard when if you're Douglas Lima that you're not losing it by much. It's just that little bit, but you lose a whole round based upon just not throwing enough.
Another 3-round fight. It puts pressure on you. See if you can build on those calf kicks, though, because, as you said, listening to MVP, he won't need too many more.
That was a nice check of the kick by Douglas Lima earlier, though. That did not feel good for Van Steenis when that landed.
Steenis did win that narrow decision against Fabian Edwards in Milan. Injury meant really wasn't able to build on that as he would have liked. There's the total kicks landed. Look at Van Steenis' figures there, 82%.
And that was the difference.
Van Steenis is true to his word. He is being more measured here.
Yeah, but that left calf is starting to get eaten up.
There's a straight right hand from Lima, and there's that calf kick again.
And that's what you need from Douglas Lima. Now come back and do it again. Don't wait. He's got to have more just intensity in going after his opponent.
Lima's looking to do a bit more damage to the calf here, and he succeeds. Why not?
Absolutely. As much damage as you can do right now.
Prime Miner stands him up in the end. So just watch out for that mobility on that front leg of Van Steenis. Switched all the way through. Costello van Steenis, thought-out game plan for Lima. Worked so hard with Gegard Mousasi, prepared each other for tonight. Really good sharp work from Lima in this second round.
Yep, and you see Van Steenis keeps on switching to the southpaw stance, putting that left lead leg to the rear because it's getting eaten up.
Steenis looking for the takedown, but Lima was alive to that. Damage with the knee this time. This is really smart from Lima.
Just keep attacking the legs. The more that you can attack those legs, the slower everything's going to be for Van Steenis.
The crowd getting a bit restless here. Steenis looking to take Lima down.
That was a nice job by Van Steenis, and Douglas let him do it. He went almost bringing his hand up between legs for a high crotch, and he gets it based upon it. I was thinking that Douglas needed to, in that position up against Cage, hey, do more. Don't just sit there and wait. You've got to really go after him right now.
Can Van Steenis create the space to do any damage?
Can he do enough to bring this round back into his favor?
Got 15 seconds. There's the elbow from Van Steenis. Well, potentially, on John's scorecard anyway, it will be decided in this third and final round. So many people were writing off Douglas Lima. But is he just settling at middleweight? And is he going to be the one to emerge victorious here? He's done a lot of damage to that left leg of Van Steenis. If he can do some to the right as well here, Van Steenis will have real problems. And there's that jab. That's started to find its range too from Lima.
Both guys, in my opinion, really need to let it hang out here. Need to really go after it. Beautiful job by Douglas Lima. Just stuffed him on that. But again, when you have that moment, you want to leave him with something that he has to remember. On that exit, don't just, oh, I failed on the attempt. Not only did I fail on the attempt, I got blasted.
This is again with a kick, Van Steenis. Talk about this more measured Costello van Steenis. You start to wonder if he's a bit too measured.
Well, I think it is part of, the guy he's facing. This is the biggest test that he's ever had.
Oh, right hand from Lima.
That right
really
hand hurt him
sharp
bad.
shot, and he follows it up.
And that's what you want to see from Douglas Lima. Don't wait, go after him. Good shot to the body, clean.
Body and then head from Lima. But he walked onto that right hand. It was perfectly timed. Does Van Steenis now just have to take a risk here?
You got to figure if you're Van Steenis right now, you're behind. So you got to do something to change this round. This is the start of doing it, but don't let him get back to his feet. Nice job by Douglas Lima. Even turns it. Now, the one thing you don't want out of Lima is exactly what we saw in the last round, to be in this and kind of be lazy. There you go, break off. You're doing better in the stand-up now. You're the one leading the dance. Continue on.
Lima has done so much right here, particularly in round two and this third round so far. All the talk of Costello van Steenis being this reborn fighter. Maybe all along the headline news was that it's Douglas Lima who's reborn. So much happier at the weight. 2 minutes to decide it here.
Douglas has fought so many fights in a 5-round fashion and everything. He should have no problem. He should be able to step on the gas and really start to put pressure on Van Steenis here. He's the guy that has the experience with all those rounds. Look at that beautiful job of digging that underhook, breaking free. But now that you break free, you want to go after him. If you're Van Steenis, you want to go back to either looking for that takedown or start landing big shots. Don't just accept. At least counter him.
Douglas Lima's fought the full 5, 8 times in his career, so he should be charging through the finishing tape here. The combination again from Lima.
And both guys have gotten into the throwing no more than one or two, one leg kick. And they're both being cautious. Both have felt the power of the others, but right now you got to remember, Van Steenis got hurt early in this round.
Yeah, he recovered, but he was definitely buzzed. Steenis will know this isn't going his way. Another quality calf kick from Lima. Once again, the takedown defense of Lima. Van Steenis is looking for that.
Lima doing a great job of turning that corner, getting that underhook, turning him around, putting Van Steenis' back to the cage. Van Steenis muscles him around. Very nicely done. Both guys working hard here in the last 10 seconds.
Closing seconds of the fight here. Van Steenis came out and won the opening round, but has Lima turned it round?
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go now to your three judges at cage side. Ben Cartledge, Eric Colon, Chris Lee. All have it exactly the same, 29-28. I'll have it for the winner by unanimous decision, Douglas the Phenom Lima.
The losing streak has come to an end, and Douglas Lima has proved them wrong. Let's get up now to Big John, who will shortly be with the winner.
I'm here with your winner, Douglas Lima. How does that sound, your winner, Douglas Lima? I know it was riding on your mind. How are you feeling after a big win?
It's a big weight off the shoulders, you know. It's not easy coming back after a bunch of losses like that, but man, oh God, my face is on him always. And he chose for me to win tonight, and I came in here and executed.
You went against a very tough guy, a guy with a lot of power, a lot of strength in Costello van Steenis. How much better did you feel at 185 than you did when you were in the 170s?
Night and day difference, you know. I wasn't able to put a lot of weight back, you know. I was probably like 197 tonight. But I felt amazing, man. I felt good. You know, my whole team gave me all the energy that I needed, all the support. And France, man, it's a pleasure being here. Something in France. Ça va?
Ici c'est Paris.
There we go. Ici c'est Paris. Júlia, Davi, papai te ama. Oh, look what I'm waiting for. I'm not on the way.
Douglas has a baby on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your winner, Douglas the Phenom Lima.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Francis Ngannou. Subscribe now.